I am here with the Summer Art Bento Box, another box full of awesome goodies and ephemera and paper. Let's check it out and get to our project. So for the Summer Box 2018, I thought it would be fun to do a mark kind of themed box. So I have a lot of different supplies in here for making marks and experimenting with things together. We have, of course, covered in tissue paper, the little package of goodies, a very finely wrapped art supply here that is awesome. It's a new pastel color stick. So I decided I was really gonna try and get them, hopefully so they don't break. Some of them actually were broken in the shipment to me, but I made sure I packed up everybody a whole stick. They are a little bit delicate. I will show you that in a moment, but I'm hoping they make it to you all in one piece. We have a pack of watercolor artist tiles. Love artist tiles. I've done the illustration ones before. These are watercolor. Even though we don't have watercolors in this box, we have some water-soluble materials, so those will go great. And of course, we have the paper pack and the ephemera pack. I'm super excited about the ephemera pack this time because it is chock full of really vintage hand-selected ephemera. So each box has a vintage photo. We have some library cards, index cards, and some hand-written notes and various things in each pack. A little prayer book in some of them. A vintage doily piece, so definitely plenty of stuff to enjoy ephemera and kind of collaging and bringing old into new. We also, of course, have the paper pack. This has fun stuff. I like to select paper that you can't just find just anywhere. Some of it does come from more local sources, and some of it comes from artist sources online. So I'm really excited about this because it is hand silk screened on a blue paper. And then of course we have some flowers for summer, although we went with a cool theme. I just really like that little bit of sparkle of gold on there. So from a supply standpoint, I already have a couple of these open, so I'm gonna show you those so you don't have to watch me open them. In the bubble wrap, this is the pastel stick. So it is not water soluble, but it is definitely a creamy texture. It blends, it shades well. It is a stronger, more intense color than most pastels. And it is supposed to be a stronger to prevent breakage, but they do break. I've broken some just using them. I guess it depends on how heavy of a hand you have. And then we have one of my all-time favorite colored pencils, Prismacolor. They are super rich, super soft. You can get great marks, strokes, coloring out of these, very smooth color. We have a Holbein water-soluble crayon. Holbein products are amazing. I love all of their stuff. I have their gouache and their watercolor and their acrylic paint, super awesome. And then we have an elegant writer that has two different tips. It has a chiseled tip, at two different sizes, and the one size has kind of an indent in the middle, so you can get some interesting marks with that or hand lettering. And those are the supplies in the box. We're gonna be making a project on one of these artist tiles. I did a sample here, and I did add a couple of other things. So I added some acrylic ink onto mine just to give some variation. I added some gesso. And so if you want to add some additional acrylic paint, acrylic ink, you can use the liquid acrylic or just any acrylic you have on hand, that's fine. You'll need just a couple of brushes and then of course the supplies from the box. So we're gonna get into this project in just a second, and I'm gonna clean this up real quick and we'll be right back. Okay, so the first step is really, we're just gonna experiment with mark making with all of our supplies here and just see how each of them react. This, all of these comes in various colors in your boxes, so it's really just about exploring how many different types of marks you can make with each material. Starting out with the elegant writer, we have a really kind of fine edge here that we can make really thin marks with. You can definitely make dots and see how those go. You can bring it across and make kind of these little dash marks. And so exploring how many different types of marks you can make, how thin, how thick, how expressive, And since this is kind of for hand lettering as well, you can get some nice strokes and varying colors. So really just playing with that, thinking about what direction your marks can go, how you're building composition, and how you're kind of dividing up the page with your marks. We're gonna switch to the other side. This one has the kind of the chisel in the middle. So using it together, maybe even doing a little loop on there and just kind of really playing and allowing yourself to explore. I'm breaking up my composition by doing something over here, and kind of dividing that page so you can see this split here down the middle. So as I add other lines and other marks, we're just gonna build right on top of that. So the water-soluble crayon, we're gonna do a little bit of filling in some space, coming along some lines, adding that in. The Prismacolor colored pencil, be kind of repeating and building some texture and figuring out how many different types of shapes you can make. Got some lines, got some circles. If you're doing lines like this in one place, make sure you give yourself the same line somewhere else. It really helps bring your piece together and builds cohesion and interest. So your eye likes to see that sameness. Even if it's not exactly the same, you start to kind of make sense of it in your mind. And then we're gonna get this pastel in here. And that's a really nice deep blue. I'm gonna blend that a little bit, just see what happens when we kind of push that medium around. So the next thing, since we're experimenting here, we're gonna add a little bit of water. And now I know I have the water-soluble crayon, and we're gonna see if we can kind of get that to spread out a little bit. And just what happens to our other materials as we do that. So pushing color around, seeing how things blend, how things bleed. And like I said, we're building composition, so we want to kind of see how our eye is moving through the page and moving through our experiment. While this is wet, I'm actually going to add a little bit of more water. We're going to see what happens when we use the water-soluble crayon right on top of wet, and just how that changes the mark that we get. And it really does, it really lightens it up. And then also how it reacts to the colored pencil. You can see it gets lighter in there. And the pastel. So now that I've kind of built this base layer, we're gonna add some gesso. I love gesso from just to mask with, to blend with. I think it adds a little bit of personality. I'm gonna put a paper towel down here, just so I can get a little messier and not have to worry about the edges. I am kind of giving it a very painterly, very loose building up of color on top, and allowing some of that color to show through, some white to kind of mask out, and going how my lines and my gestures from my marks kind of brought some of this to life. We're allowing the paint to also give it another dimension of life. I love it because you can really vary the amount of opaque white to see-through transparency, and also, you know, using the back of your brush and adding a little bit of etching in there, pushing through that paint gives some interest, just varying textures. And then adding some more water. And this is optional. If you have some liquid acrylic, I like to pool a little bit of water in an area or two. And then add this liquid acrylic right into that pool. And then once it's in there, I kind of let the organic water take over a little bit, and then I kind of push it around too. So again, kind of making marks, covering, masking with color, and bringing your shapes and your gesture together. I really like when you have kind of random materials like this. It almost pushes you to make color combinations you wouldn't normally make. Think about where you're putting your colors in a different way, how you're using them, how they're kind of having a conversation together, and how it all comes to life in composition. And so I love this orange peeking through. I'm gonna add a little bit of orange here because there's really none up here, and I don't need a lot, but just a little kind of peeking. And some mark variation. We're kind of repeating these green marks. Maybe doing a little bit of that in here. There we go. We have really experimented with mark making, color play, new mediums, and allowed this little art tile to be an experiment all of its own, with some interesting materials that I wouldn't necessarily pick to put together, but really came out in an awesome way. And each one time you do this, even though I use the same materials, it really becomes kind of a different type of exploration. And you build composition in a new way, build color in a new way, and just allow yourself to explore and experiment and have fun with it. So I hope you enjoyed the summer box. I would love to see what you create. Definitely share those on Instagram, hashtag #ArtBentoBox, or @me at @ArtBentoBox, or Drawriot, of course. And keep creating, have fun this summer, and look towards the autumn box and the winter box. Those will be coming out soon. Thanks so much. I'll see you later. Bye.